On the night of February 16, 2022, a 2-year-old girl named Bexley was sitting in the back seat of her father's car on a dark road in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. She was too young to understand what was happening. She was too young to explain what she saw. But when first responders arrived at that road, they found Jared Bridegan, her father, a 33-year-old Microsoft executive, lying on the pavement beside his car, shot multiple times. His daughter was still in the back seat, and in the road directly in front of the car, sitting where someone had placed it, was a tire. That tire was not an accident. It had been put there deliberately. Someone had planned for Jared to stop. Someone had planned for him to get out of the car, and someone had been waiting for exactly that moment in the dark. The question investigators would spend the next 12 months answering was not just who pulled the trigger. It was who had enough hatred and enough cold calculation to use a 2-year-old girl's custody schedule as the timeline for an execution. Jared Bridegan had everything that from the outside looked like a life well rebuilt. He had grown up in the Pacific Northwest, worked his way into a senior role at Microsoft, and by 2022 he was living in Jacksonville Beach with his wife Kirsten and their daughter Bexley. Kirsten was pregnant with their second child. Jared was present, ambitious, and by every account of people who knew him, genuinely happy with the life he was living. But Jared also had a past that had not fully released him. Several years earlier, he had been married to a woman named Shanna. That marriage produced twin daughters, girls who are now school-aged and living primarily with their mother. After the divorce, co-parenting between Jared and Shanna became something far harder than it should have been. People close to Jared described the custody arrangement as persistently difficult. Court records showed a pattern of disputes and legal filings stretching over years. Jared had fought consistently for more time with his daughters. He had pushed back through legal channels. He had not gone away quietly, and the people around him say that was simply who he was. Someone who believed that his daughters deserved to have their father present in their lives, and who was willing to fight for that through every legal means available.
By the night he died, that fight had been ongoing for years, and it had not gotten easier. On the evening of February 16th, Jared had picked up his twin daughters from a custody exchange with Shanna and spent time with them. That evening, he drove the twins back to their mother's home, a routine he had done dozens of times before. Bexley, his toddler, was in the car with him. After the drop-off, Jared headed home along Spencer's Plantation Boulevard, a quiet residential road on the way back through Jacksonville Beach. It was around 9:30 at night. That was when he hit the tire. He did what most people would do. He stopped the car. He got out to move the obstacle out of the road. And that was where he was shot. First responders found Jared on the ground beside the driver's side of his car, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to a hospital and pronounced dead. In the back seat, Bexley was unharmed. The road around the car was dark and quiet. There were no witnesses. Whoever had done this was already gone. What detectives understood almost immediately was the nature of the trap. The tire in the road was not random debris. It had been placed there, deliberately positioned on a route that Jared regularly drove at a predictable time, on a night when investigators quickly learned could be anticipated because of his custody schedule.
Someone had known when he would be on that road. Someone had known he would be alone, except for a 2-year-old who could not run, could not call for help, and could not identify anyone. The choice of that location, on that night, after that particular custody exchange, told investigators something before they had a single name. This was not a robbery. This was not random. This was planned by someone who had access to information about Jared Bridegan's routine. And the most detailed knowledge of that routine, the custody schedule, the exchange times, the routes he took, existed within the orbit of his co-parenting relationship. Investigators began looking hard at the people closest to that world. And what they found when they started pulling on the right threads was a financial connection. In December 2022, 10 months after the shooting, police arrested a man named Henry Tenen. Tenen was a 61-year-old from the Jacksonville area with a prior criminal history. When investigators confronted him with the evidence they had built, Tenen made a decision that would unravel the entire case. He cooperated. He told investigators that he had been hired to carry out the killing. He told them who had paid him, and the name he gave pointed directly into the middle of Jared Bridegan's custody dispute. Mario Fernandez Saldana was arrested in December 2022. He was 38 years old. He was Shanna Gardner's husband, the man who had moved into the life Jared's co-parenting arrangement revolved around. According to prosecutors, it was Mario Fernandez Saldana who had orchestrated the plot, who had arranged the logistics, who had connected the plan to someone willing to carry it out. The tire in the road, the route, the timing. Investigators alleged that all of it had been engineered through him. But the case did not stop there. In September 2023, Shanna Gardner herself was arrested. By that point, she had relocated to Utah with her children. Prosecutors charged her as the co-conspirator behind her husband. According to the state's case, this was not Mario Fernandez Saldana acting alone out of some personal grievance. This was two people who shared a life, shared a household with the twin daughters Jared had been fighting to stay close to, and who prosecutors allege shared a plan to remove him permanently from the equation. The motive, as prosecutors outlined it, was the custody dispute. A years-long, grinding, legally contested battle over two little girls. Jared had been pushing for more time, more access, more presence in her daughters' lives, and according to the state's theory, that pressure, that refusal to simply disappear from the picture, had reached a point where someone decided the only solution was to make sure he could never push again. What makes this case land differently than a simple domestic crime is the level of calculation involved. This was not a spontaneous act of rage. This was not a confrontation that escalated. Someone identified a route. Someone placed a tire on a specific road, on a specific night, at a specific time. Someone arranged for a person to be waiting in the dark. Every element of what happened on Spencer's Plantation Boulevard required planning, coordination, and a willingness to carry it out, knowing that a 2-year-old child would be in the car watching. Bexley Bridegan was 2 years old. She was too young to testify. She was too young to describe anything. Her presence on that road that night was not a miscalculation by whoever planned this. It was simply irrelevant to them. And that detail, more than any other in this case, captures the nature of what investigators were dealing with. Jared's wife, Kirsten, gave birth to their second child after his death. She has spoken publicly about her husband and about her determination to make sure his daughters, all of his children, including Bexley and the child born after his murder, understand who their father was. She has described a man who coached, who showed up, who fought to be present. The twin daughters Jared had with Shanna Gardner lost their father to a plan that, if prosecutors are correct, was connected to the very household they lived in. That is a weight that sits over every aspect of this case and does not lift. Henry Tenon pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. Mario Fernandez Saldaña faced trial in 2024. Shanna Gardner's case moved through the Florida courts separately, with legal proceedings that stretched into 2024 and beyond. The case that began with a tire on a dark road in Jacksonville Beach became one of the most disturbing domestic crime prosecutions in Florida in recent memory, not because of what happened in a moment of anger, but because of everything that had to be planned, arranged, and decided in cold blood before that February night. Jared Bridegan drove that road dozens of times. He drove it because of his daughters, because the custody arrangement meant that road was part of his life, part of his schedule, part of the price he paid to stay in his children's lives. And according to prosecutors, that schedule, that dedication, was exactly the information that made it possible to plan the night that he did not come home. He was 33 years old. His daughter was sitting in the back seat, and someone had placed a tire in the road.